Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back on my series on the goddesses. And in my previous videos, we did discuss about various forms of goddess. The goddess is one, the female energy is one, and the prime source of that female energy is goddess Parvati, pretty much. And all the other powers or energies do get manifested from that supreme source of energy, and that is required because we need it in today's Kali Yuga, which is the dark age where there are evil forces all around. There is poverty, there is all kinds of problems, and different kinds of energies are required to be able to balance those negative forces which are prevalent in today's day and age in this world. So the story goes that the prime energy, like I had mentioned, is Parvati in my earlier videos as well. And as per the Bhagavad Devi Purana, there's a very interesting story as to how these energies were created. And pretty much we are talking about the 10 Mahavidyas, which are the 10 great powers of the goddess. And thus means 10, Maha means great, Vidya means knowledge, and knowledge, as we know, is power. So these are the 10 great forces, and like I just mentioned, that these forces are required to balance the negative energies, to provide compassion, to provide food, to provide happiness, to provide all kinds of soothing things which can give some relief to the people who are suffering from these negative energies. And the story, as per the Bhagavad Devi Purana rather, is how these 10 Mahavidyas were created. And Daksha Prajapati, who was the father of Sati is the consort of Shiva, as we know, he had organized a great yagya, and a yagya in Sanskrit is a fire ritual. And he had invited the gods, all the big rishis or the great saints, and the great powers in terms of big saints, and even great kings, and all kinds of supreme powers were invited, whoever are present in this universe. And we are talking about the Satyuga, the day and age where people had access to those powers, where they could invite or invoke those powers. So Daksha had invited all those gods and devis and devatas and the saints and the kings and the kingsmen to this great fire ritual. And just because he was pretty upset with his daughter and son-in-law, she did not invite Shiva, his son-in-law, and the daughter Sati. And Sati actually decided that regardless, she will still go and attend the fire ritual. And God Shiva said, well, do not go because you've not been invited. And Sati still insisted, no, it's my father's ceremony, so I have to go. And she even asked Shiva if he would like to come, and Lord Shiva said, no, I am not coming. And when Sati arrived, she was not welcome there. As a matter of fact, Daksha was not very happy to see her. And when Sati saw that all the other big forces of the universe in terms of saints and kings and kingsmen and gods and goddesses were all invited, and they were all there, and her own husband, Lord Shiva, was not invited, she was enraged, very angry. And out of that anger, these 10 Mahavidyas, or the great 10 powers, emerged, which actually surrounded her from various directions. So it was 10 directions. And that's what we had been talking about in our previous videos. We discussed about Kali, that was one of the energies, and how we associated with it with a planet, and it was the planet Saturn. Tara, which was another energy which we associated with the planet Jupiter, or rather, we didn't associate it. It is associated. That energy is associated with the planet Jupiter. And so these 10 great powers emerged, and then there's a big story and of how Sati jumped into the fire, and how Lord Shiva created Veerabhadra, and who came and who destroyed and had a war with Daksha. But anyways, we're not going to get into that. We're discussing about the various powers of the goddess, which are actually coming out. The origin is Lord Shiva's consort, which is Parvati, and of course Sati and Parvati are same, because Sati jumped into the fire and committed suicide, and she was reborn again as Parvati, and she again went ahead and married Lord Shiva. So again, that's another story, we'll not get into that. So this is how the 10 Mahavidyas were created, and this is how, and these are the tantric form of the goddesses. These are fierce form of the goddesses. And today, one of the tantric form of the goddess, which we will be discussing, will be the goddess Kamala. Kamala, Kamala. And Kamala is a Das Mahavidya. She's a tantric or an intense form of goddess Lakshmi, it's believed. And how she is depicted is that she has a golden complexion, and she has 4 elephants surrounding her who are pouring water over her. That's how she is depicted. And actually not water, but nectar over her, which is also called Amrita in Sanskrit. And she has 4 hands, like we all know that goddess Lakshmi has 4 hands, and in her 2 hands she has 2 lotuses, and she is providing boons, and she's providing the wealth, and she's providing happiness to the people, and she's seated on a lotus, like the non-tantric form of goddess Lakshmi, as we have seen. So Kamala is very similar, rather she is synonymous with goddess Lakshmi, and she actually depicts, or she's a bringer of prosperity and wealth, and during those ages and those time and age where crops were extremely important, because most of the people there primarily were engaged in the profession of agriculture. So she's synonymous with that as well, and of course good luck and all the good things in life. And Lakshmi, as we know, is not just about wealth. She is Ashtalakshmi, and there's another video which we have discussed about the 8 forms of Lakshmi, where she brings in those 8 forms of prosperity and wealth and happiness in her 8 different forms. But this video is to explain you that yes, out of the 10 Mahavidyas, Kamala, goddess Kamala, is one of the powers of energies of goddess Parvati, the supreme source of the energy, who is the consort of Lord Shiva, and she's the tantric form of Lakshmi herself. So here we see a connection between goddess Parvati and Lakshmi. So a lot of people may think that no, Lakshmi is a different goddess and Parvati is a different goddess. Of course, Lakshmi is depicted as a goddess who's married to Lord Vishnu, and here we are talking about Parvati, whose consort is Lord Shiva. But then out of the energy of Parvati, Lakshmi emerges, and this Lakshmi is a tantric form of Lakshmi, whose name has been given as Kamala. So there's really a connection here, and I'm trying to bring these things up because people, especially from the West, get confused about these different energies and different forms of the goddess. It's all one. The supreme energy, the supreme source is one, and it manifests into different kinds of energies. So like I said, you know, goddess Kamala is the same as goddess Lakshmi, and Kamala is the tantric form of Lakshmi, and this is how she's been depicted, you know, surrounded by 4 large elephants pouring nectar or amrita over her, and she's holding lotuses in her other hands, and in 2 hands she holds lotuses, and 2 hands she is providing boons. That's how these 4 hands are depicted as. and she's sitting on a lotus, and everything associated with goddess Kamala is similar to what's associated with goddess Lakshmi, but here in an intense and tantric form. So that's the slight difference here. Now, as far as Vedic astrology goes, the direct connection of the planet Venus is with goddess Kamala. So the connection of the planet Venus is with goddess Lakshmi as well. But if we talk about the tantric form of Lakshmi, which is goddess Kamala, again there is a connection of the planet Venus with goddess Kamala. And people in whose charts Venus is a little weak, or it's afflicted, or if it's not giving the kind of benefit or a benefic effect, since it's a natural benefic anyways, can pray to goddess Kamala. But again, with the disclaimer that this is a tantric form, it has to be done under the guidance of an expert tantric scholar, not to be tried or experimented by one himself. So that's a disclaimer here, very, very important, because any tantric form is very intense, and it has to be done in the proper ritual and proper manner. So this was another video on our series of the goddesses. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and meanwhile I will recommend subscribe to my channel and check out my website. There is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic very soon. Goodbye.